Well, I've changed my mind about the whole design of the truck. We're now sitting in the cab back here. We're gonna stretch the front end out about 10 feet, and then we're gonna have a regular pickup bed on the back of it and stretch it out about 10 or 12 feet off the back too. What do you guys think? I'm joking. We're not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. Sticking with our original design. I do have some stuff up here I want to show you guys real quick. Back to working on this thing this week. Connor's been working on it last week and he got a bunch of stuff done, so I'll show you what he got done, and then we found a little issue that we're working on up here in the front, and I thought it'd be a good time to bring you guys in and show you what's going on. So we had a bunch of holes up here that was from random stuff throughout time that needed to be patched up. Connor's gotten those all taken care of, and then there was a bunch of rust here around that pedal area. He's got that all ground off. He also took and patched in the spot here that we had to cut out for the motor to recess back into the firewall a little bit. So he's got it all patched in there pretty good right now. I think we're pretty well close to being done with patching all that stuff up. But then we found that the front lip here, or this front panel here on the cab, was actually separating from the cab. It's just got some spot welds across the top here, and then there's a little lip that folds over. It doesn't even actually fold over, it just kind of breaks over to 90. Well, I didn't remember when I was driving this truck that if you push the pedal in, it made a bad noise from, it sounded like the pedal had something in the joint of it or something. It was making noise. I think it was actually this panel separating from the top of the cab, from the bottom of the cab. And it did that noise. Well, I took this lip and I folded it over there and tried to make it into a pinch weld, but even trying to do that, it didn't seal up and hold very tight. So I went ahead and drilled a bunch of holes across the top here. I'm gonna take and just vice grip those good and tight, and then go ahead and weld that all up. And I think we'll be ready at that point to maybe try to dust a little bit of rattle can paint on here and go ahead and try to move the cab forward. The plan in this video is to try to see if we can't drive this thing, so we have a better idea of exactly if the motor and tranny are any good and kind of where we're at that point. So that's our goal for today's video. So Jeff brought over this, what is it called?
The stripper wheel.
Stripper wheel thing. You guys check this thing out. It's a Harbor Freight deal, right?
Yep.
Bauer, yeah.
Vertical speed.
This thing is kicking rear on that roof. Look at that. That thing looks beautiful. It's awesome. How long you ain't been working on it for, like what?
I think I've been on about
15 minutes?
15 minutes. Right?
Yeah. 15 minutes and it's looking like that. I think I'm gonna have to get one of those. It's pretty sweet.
Pretty awesome.
You wanna be on a time lapse for a second? I'm gonna put a time lapse of just 1 minute of him doing this, and you guys can see how far you can get in just 1 minute. right, so in here we need to address a couple things before we can move the cab back forward, and one of them is to put in the gas pedal. So before we put in the gas pedal, I want to be able to kind of clean up this area in here a little bit and make that a little bit nicer. And I also want to bend the brake pedal back over and kind of straight a little bit. I'll get you a shot of that here in a second, but it's kind of cocked to one side, so I want it to cock the other way and be underneath the steering column. We talked about it in one of the last videos. But yeah, before we can do all of this, I want to go ahead and clean up the floor and try to do something with that. Since Connor got everything looking so good out there, we might as well do this too. And it's one of those things, everything just stair steps on top of itself just to do one little simple thing like hook up the gas pedal. Now we've got a half a day's worth of work to do. So I guess we gotta get started. Alright, we did all that now just to be able to get our gas pedal in. I haven't showed you guys the gas pedal. It's basically just a regular kind of El Cheapo Speedway deal. It's exactly my first choice to go in there. I would like to have been able to use some kind of factory one that we could have gotten for cheap, because this one was like 50 bucks, but kind of the easiest way to go in there really, and kind of makes the most sense for what we're doing. So it's the way we ended up having to go. So it's just got two holes in there. You can just see me drill a couple of holes in our little spot there that Connor had framed out around her head. And the reason I wanted to have that all done before we could do this is because that's where the gas pedal needs to go. So we drilled a couple holes, gonna just stick a couple of pop rivets in there to hold it. And then you come up here and you line up where your cable goes through, drill one more hole and run your cable through, and pretty well done. So we'll get this mounted for now. We'll worry about the cable after we actually go ahead and get the cab moved up here and onto the mounts where it's supposed to go. So I did spray a little bit of bed liner in here too on the floor. I pulled a can out of the trash and I was only able to do a couple square feet before it was completely empty, but I did get enough underneath there at least where we're gonna put the gas pedal. So there's that for now. Well, I think I got the power steering lines and the brake lines and stuff figured out for the booster, and Connor's under there now, and he is pulling off the oil filter, and we found an old oil filter that was in a box of stuff that's who knows how old, but I think for now, just for firing it up to try to run it a little bit, we're gonna try to just dump some El Cheapo oil in there, and hopefully this filter fits on there, and then we'll be able to actually fire it up and hear it run. I'm questioning whether or not we're gonna be able to drive it. I was really hoping that we'd be able to, but we went ahead and, well, I didn't. Connor went ahead and went out to Piper's and got us a piece, and I don't know where it went. Let me find it. So I still wasn't really liking the angle of our steering shaft, and it looked like it was gonna probably end up needing a U-joint like this in it. So I happened to stumble across some info that said that the shaft out of some of like the Jeep Cherokees and stuff will actually interchange in place for a square body Chevy pickup. And since we basically have a square body Chevy pickup chassis here, close, and steering column and whatnot, it's all GM stuff from that era. So I was hoping that this would work. It turns out that it does not. The steering shaft is different. This one's just got a D-ring thing on the end of it, and the U-joint side, the part with the splines, is too small. It's not saying, however, that this isn't maybe true for, you know, regular Chevy pickup, like a half ton, maybe 3/4 ton, but on the bigger stuff, it definitely doesn't fit. So not sure exactly yet what we're gonna try to do there to be able to try to hook up the steering. So still playing that one by ear, but while we're doing everything else, I'll be thinking about it and see if I can't figure out something else there. So anyways, we'll carry on. Connor is ready for a oil filter now, probably, huh?
Yep.
All right, we're getting close. I've got a couple of vacuum leaks here that I still need to address. I don't think I'm gonna hook it back up the way it was with all the smog stuff. I'll probably just bypass around all of that and not worry about that. I need to still get a master cylinder so we can hook up the brake lines, and I need to get some couplers to be able to couple the brake lines to the master cylinder. I need to get some O-rings for the power steering lines and for these oil cooler lines so that hopefully those don't leak. I need to get a couple of, I think I can just get away with putting 1/3/8 nut under each one of those nuts there on the water pump so we can hold the pulley on. Since we took the fan off, then we have to have those to hold the pulley on, and then we can get the belts back on. But now just thinking about it, since we're not gonna have a fan on it, then we're not gonna be able to run it for too terribly long, but hopefully we can still run it long enough to see what we need to see. We do got oil back in it. Total pain in the rear with this thing, so that's got to go. That's horrible to try to put a cord in. And what else? Oh, the fuel line from the fuel pump. Since we changed the fuel pump and put just a regular pickup style fuel pump on there, the fuel line doesn't work from there to there, so I need to, probably gonna end up cutting it and putting a filter in there or something just to be on the safe side to know that we got some good gas going up there to it. More than likely, we're probably gonna end up having to put a kit in that carburetor, but if we can keep from having to do that, I would like to keep from having to do that. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I don't have any of the stuff that I just talked about, and so that's probably a pretty good stopping point for this evening. I'll grab some of that stuff tomorrow on the way through town, and I guess we'll get back to work on this thing tomorrow. Well, this sucks. I am so close to being where we can fire this thing up, but yet so far away, and we still can't steer this thing. So I'm pretty well just dead in the water right now on this video. Here's the deal. So I figured I'd use the radiator out of the camper chassis. It happened to have the same distance here as the radiator was in this for the core support to line right up to the radiator, so that worked out great. It has the stuff for the transmission lines, for the training cooler, of course, and it also has the stuff in there for the oil cooler, and I thought it'd be nice to go ahead and keep the oil cooler, so we're using this radiator. It'd be great. We'll be good to go. So even the radiator hoses pretty well line up. I can cut a little bit off of them because the radiator is a little farther out from the other motor than it is on this motor, and I can even make that work. But it's been sitting here in plain sight, and my dumbass didn't sit here and look at the fact that this radiator is different than your normal radiator. Your normal radiator has your spout to fill it right there on the top, and this one is off the back side of it. So now this is as far as it goes into the core support, and that doesn't work, obviously. So we need to go ahead and take that off and move it to the side or to the front or something so we can fill this thing up with antifreeze. And I honestly do not feel comfortable doing that. I'm perfectly fine, with my abilities and all that kind of stuff, and comfortable with my abilities, that I can tell you guys that I don't feel comfortable doing that myself. So I'm going to take that over to my friend Aaron King and have him do that. I feel confident that he'll be able to move that and have that sealed up and not have me stranded alongside the highway. So I'm gonna take it over and have him do that, but he is a busy guy, and I'm not gonna go over there and just tell him, hey, I need this today, right now. Drop everything else you're doing and work on my stuff. I'm not gonna do that. So it's not gonna happen today. That's just is what it is. So there's that. We also have a steering column situation still. We've addressed that before already and somewhat, but I still don't have the right stuff that I need to be able to hook it up. I'm really close. And I thought I had some stuff, but I don't, and I still need to just keep looking. I could still order some stuff, but I'm trying not to order some stuff. I'm trying to, use what I got, or try to find something, else that is just laying around or whatever. So anyway, still just trying to keep the budget on low so that we can go past that $5,000 mark that we have for the build. So can't steer it, can't cool it, can't keep fluids in it. So I really can't fire this thing up and drive it today. And that sucks because that was really what my goal was, and I did not make that goal. So it's gonna have to be next video, I guess. That's just is what it is, and that's where we're at. I do still have all the wiring out of the C50, so small block versus big block wiring is pretty much the same for this stuff. I mean, I ought to be able to make all that work. We'll see how that goes, I guess. I can probably try to work on that here in the next day or so and go from there. But I think we're just right there at the verge of being able to fire this thing up. I do still need to hook up the drive shaft back in this darn thing again too, so there's that as well. We can't drive it without drive shaft, and also bleed some brakes and whatnot. So a little bit of stuff left to do, but for the most part, we're pretty well there. So just sucks that it wasn't able to go and drive the darn thing. Had a lot of distractions this week too with a bunch of stuff, and some of it good, some of it bad. I've got a new A-frame now that is so big that I can't get inside the building. That's kind of crazy, but it's outside. It was a major ordeal to haul it. Doesn't quite fit down the road like it should. Doesn't fit in the building, and it was really hard to unload. But I've got it now, and I'm not even sure what I'm gonna do with it. So there's that. But anyways, I'm just rambling now, I guess. I don't know. Appreciate you guys watching, following along with the build, and I guess I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 7. Have a good one.